The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Marcus Thompson's penthouse office, casting long shadows across the polished marble floor. At 52, Marcus had built an empire from nothing, transforming a small tech startup into a billion-dollar corporation. Yet, as he sat behind his massive mahogany desk, surrounded by awards and accolades, he felt more alone than ever. The silence in his sprawling penthouse was deafening. No laughter echoed through the halls, no warm conversations filled the empty spaces. Just the distant hum of the city below and the steady tick of an antique clock his late father had given him decades ago. Marcus had everything money could buy, but he had learned the hard way that wealth could unpurchase the one thing he craved most: genuine human connection. Too many people had disappointed him over the years. Business partners who smiled to his face while plotting behind his back. Friends who only called when they needed something. Even family members who seemed more interested in his will than his well-being. The betrayals had built walls around his heart, each disappointment adding another brick. He had become suspicious of everyone's motives, questioning every kind gesture, analyzing every smile for hidden agendas. Trust had become a luxury he could no longer afford. But there was one person who puzzled him. Maria Santos had been cleaning his penthouse for 3 years now, arriving every Tuesday and Friday morning with quiet efficiency. She was in her early 40s, with kind eyes and calloused hands that spoke of a lifetime of hard work. Unlike the parade of people who fawned over him at board meetings and charity galas, Maria treated him with simple, honest respect. She never asked for favors, never hinted at needing money, never tried to engage him in unnecessary conversation. She simply did her job with a thoroughness that impressed him, leaving his home spotless and somehow warmer than when she arrived. Marcus found himself looking forward to her visits, though he would never admit it. Sometimes he would delay leaving for the office just to hear her humming softly as she worked, a Spanish melody that reminded him of his childhood when his grandmother would sing while cooking. There was something peaceful about Maria's presence, something that made the vast emptiness of his penthouse feel less overwhelming. But even with Maria, Marcus couldn't shake his suspicions entirely. Was her kindness genuine, or was she simply biding her time, waiting for the right opportunity? The question gnawed at him, especially during the long, sleepless nights when doubt crept in like shadows. One Tuesday morning, as Marcus prepared for another day of board meetings and conference calls, an idea began to form in his mind. It was a test, he told himself. A way to finally know if there was at least one person in his world who could be trusted. He walked to his study, where a large safe sat behind his desk. The combination was known only to him, his father's birthday, a date that held deep meaning but would be impossible for anyone else to guess. Inside the safe were important documents, family heirlooms, and a considerable amount of cash he kept for emergencies. Marcus opened the safe and carefully arranged several $100 bills on top of the stack, making them clearly visible. Then, in what felt like the most vulnerable act of his adult life, he left the safe door wide open. His hands trembled slightly as he gathered his briefcase and headed for the door. This was it. Today he would finally have his answer about Maria Santos. The hours at the office crawled by with agonizing slowness. Marcus found himself checking his watch every few minutes, his concentration shattered. During meetings, his mind wandered to his penthouse, to the open safe, to Maria moving through his home with her usual quiet grace. What would she do when she discovered his test? Would she take the money and disappear, like so many others had disappointed him before? Or would she prove that his growing faith in her wasn't misplaced? By 3 o'clock, Marcus couldn't stand the suspense any longer. He canceled his remaining appointments and drove home, his heart pounding with anticipation and dread. As he stepped off the elevator into his penthouse, everything appeared normal. The floors gleamed, the furniture was perfectly arranged, and the familiar scent of lemon polish hung in the air. Maria had finished her work and left, as she always did. Marcus walked slowly to his study, each step feeling heavier than the last. At the doorway he paused, almost afraid to look. The safe door was closed. His breath caught in his throat as he approached, his fingers fumbling with the combination. When the safe opened, his eyes immediately went to where he had left the money. The bills were still there, untouched. But something else had been added. A small piece of paper lay folded on top of the cash. With shaking hands, Marcus picked it up and read the message written in Maria's careful handwriting. Mr. Thompson, I noticed your safe was open today. I closed it to keep your belongings secure. I also wanted you to know that I've been praying for you. You seem very lonely, and everyone deserves to have people who care about them. I hope you find the happiness you're looking for. Maria, the note blurred as tears Marcus hadn't shed in years filled his eyes. He sank into his desk chair, overcome by a mixture of relief, gratitude, and something he hadn't felt in a very long time: hope. Maria had passed his test, but more than that, she had shown him something he had forgotten existed: genuine kindness without expectation, care without conditions, trust without betrayal. The next Friday, when Maria arrived for her usual cleaning, Marcus was waiting in the kitchen with 2 cups of coffee and a warm smile. "Maria," he said, his voice softer than usual, "would you like to take a break and talk for a while?" She looked surprised but pleased, setting down her cleaning supplies and accepting the offered cup. "I wanted to thank you," Marcus continued, "for being exactly who you are. And I wanted to ask if you would consider not just cleaning my home, but helping me make it feel like one." From that day forward, the penthouse began to change. Marcus started leaving work earlier, eager to return to conversations with Maria about her family, her dreams, her simple wisdom about life. He learned about her children, helped pay for her daughter's college education, and discovered the joy of giving without expecting anything in return. The walls around Marcus's heart began to crumble, replaced by something far stronger, the foundation of genuine friendship. He realized that trust wasn't about testing people, but about opening yourself to the possibility that goodness still existed in the world. And in Maria Santos, a humble cleaning lady with a heart of gold, Marcus Thompson had found something more valuable than all his wealth combined: proof that authentic human connection was still possible, even for a lonely millionaire who had almost given up on trust entirely. The penthouse was no longer silent. It was filled with laughter, conversation, and the warm melody of Maria's humming, transforming a house into a home and a suspicious man into someone who could believe in goodness again.